And hello, and welcome to Tea Talk, Real Talk Conversations Over Tea, where we bring guests on our show to talk about issues and topics that matter. And I like to use tea because tea actually warms your soul and it just makes you unwind and ready to have a great conversation. So today, my guest is Cassandra James, and we're going to be talking about a serious topic. It's not a happy topic, but it's a topic that I feel that really needs to be discussed, and it's suicide. So, a couple months back, one of my cousins, her daughter committed suicide. And though I haven't really been in touch with that cousin for many years, it still, really ripped me apart because we grew up together as kids. And so to hear that her daughter did this, it really blew me away. So I went out on social media and I was kind of just mentioning what happened. And I had this lovely lady here, Cassandra, sorry, tell us, about her story. So through her story, she wrote this book called How to Go from Boohoo to Woohoo in 90 Days. So we're going to, take it over to her and let her tell us her journey and, what made you write the book.
Well, thank you. And I'd just like to say that even though it may not be a happy topic, I feel it's one that needs to be addressed because there is hope. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to use my experience to impart hope to others and to give people who haven't had that experience, mm-hmm. to give them some insight maybe into what the person is going through, their right. mindset at that time. Mm-hmm. So perhaps they can reach out to them right. or at least feel that they did the best that they could.
Right. Yeah. So, so tell us, what happened sure. with you, because I know you okay. almost
yes,
did the
actually,
same thing.
You're right. Okay. So, let's see. Try not to be too long-winded. To be honest with you, I think I had always had suicidal tendencies. I was raised as an only child, and I recall having great feelings of alienation when I was a child, being very lonely. Wow. And then on top of that, I come from a verbally abusive background as well. So I guess whatever pressures, my mother was under, I took the brunt of it because I was little, I was there,
and you're the only child
so
too.
Yeah, so that's kind of how that went.
Wow.
So I was always a commitment phobe. I had a friend, Todd, who actually used to call me kick him to the curb Cassandra, because the least sign of trouble in a relationship, I was out of there, right?
Well, that's a good thing though. Why suffer through it? More of us should do that.
Well, but everybody's human, right. and I wasn't allowing for that. My world was very black and white. I only wanted to date because I only wanted to be treated well.
Right. Well,
I never wanted to be taken for granted.
Right.
So, and actually, that's kind of unrealistic, right?
Well, no, not really. None of us should ever expect to be treated, any other way but good.
Well, to be be taken for granted,
and that as well, yeah.
Well. Yes, in an ideal world, right. I guess. Yes. But now I think in the last relationship I was in, it was kind of nice to have somebody who I knew was going to be there. Right. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I look at it now. Mm-hmm. Before I just wine me and dine me and let me be on my way. I could relate to characters like Samantha on Sex and the City, although I was never that promiscuous. Don't get it twisted. Okay. So I'm a Gemini too, so I was a little flighty.
Okay, all right.
To be honest with you, okay? So at age 35, I met a young man. We were co-workers. Okay. Then we became friends. Then we became romantically involved. Okay. And girl, for the first time, I was head over heels. Wow. Okay. Wow. And not only was I head over heels, but I thought I had done the smart thing. I had used my head because we had laid a foundation first before we became romantically involved. So he came to me one day and he said, I'm going back home. He was from another country.
Okay.
To take care of some family business with my father.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, honey, you know, whatever.
Right.
I'm very secure in the relationship, right? So while he's gone, I'm in the mall. His birthday was coming up. I'm in the mall shopping for his birthday present. La 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 la, you know. So I didn't hear from him while he was gone. But, you know, cell phones weren't what they are now. So it was an arm and a leg for him to call me. So I didn't think anything of it.
Right.
Well, when he got home, he told me the business that he actually went to take care of was to reconnect with an old love.
Wow.
Maybe a few months before, he told me that our relationship was so good that it was the envy of all of his friends. Now, I didn't ask him for that information. He came to me and told me.
Right.
So I was like, wow, it's good to me. It must be good to him. You know, hey, Hey.
Now, how long were you dating?
Oh, gosh. How long?
I
guess the dating part was a year and a half. Okay. Yeah, so... Like I said, I was feeling really good. So when he got back, he proceeded to tell me he had gone to reconnect with an old love.
Wow.
Basically, I was out, she was in, and we were through.
Wow.
It was very sudden. I didn't see it coming. Like I said, I thought I had used my head as well as my heart.
Right.
So what it did was plunge me into this abyss of depression.
Wow.
And while he was the trigger, I can't say that it was really all about him.
Right.
Every insecurity I had just rose to the surface. All that verbal abuse from my childhood just kept replaying in my mind over and over again. Wow. And I would just break down wherever I was. It was very hard for me to get it together. I had to quit one part-time job because I had to. And the other one, at least I could go duck in a corner, cry when it overcame me, and then go back out and get myself together.
Wow.
So, and in the meanwhile, I would talk to anybody and everybody who would listen to my side story, girl.
Getting it off your chest, right? Thinking it's going to help you.
Yeah. And I told this one guy the story, and he was like, well, what was you? And I was like, oh my goodness, why is he being so unsympathetic?
Wow.
He ain't seen you. I've been wrong.
Right.
You know what's wrong with him, right? So that was kind of like my first little, I guess you would say, hint, right? So then one day, I was having problems at work. You know how they say when it rains, it pours.
Right.
So I was good at what I was doing, and I felt my clients were very happy with the service that I was providing. So one day this new guy comes on board. He didn't know me, I didn't know him. He comes to me and starts telling me all these things about how my clients weren't pleased with me, they were just used to me. And then I started doubting myself because I'm like, are they smiling in my face but saying these awful things behind my back? So I went to one of my client sites and I said, well, did this person call you? And he was like, I don't even know who that is, right? So it just became too much, Sharon. I was like, you know, it seems like life is telling me that my best, Cassandra, girl, your best just isn't good enough. So this is it. So I started, you know, running the water in the bathtub like they do in the movies. You know, I can't say I researched it or anything like I do with most things. Right?
Well, that's something that you don't want to even think about, but
you know. Yeah. So I got in the tub. I had just gotten off the phone with my ex. I kept trying to talk to him for some kind of insight into his behavior, because how do you love someone one minute and not love them the next? I've never done that. So, but he couldn't give me any insight. So he wasn't helping me heal. He wasn't giving me the healing that I needed. So I told him, you know, I'm just tired. So like I said, I got off the phone with him. I went in the bathroom, started running the water. I got in the tub, and there's a knock at my door. This pissed me off because it's like, can I commit suicide in peace here? You know, I was really mad, right? So I get, you know, go to the door. There's nobody there. So I was like, okay, let me get back to the business at hand.
Wow.
I go back, I get in the tub, somebody knocks again. Well, it was the police. My ex, I don't know how he knew, but he sensed something, and he had called the police in my town to come and see about me. So when I went to the door to talk to him, I just broke down.
Wow.
So he's like, do you want to go to the hospital? I was like, I ain't got no money to be going to no hospital, no.
Right.
So he lied to me and told me it was free.
Right. Oh.
So I was like, okay, okay, I'll go.
Thank God he did. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here today.
Actually, they didn't help me.
Wow.
So, but I didn't give them the chance.
Right.
So I got in the ambulance. They took me to the hospital. So I'm sitting in the hallway. And have you ever heard of Zig Ziglar? He talks about stinking thinking. Well, they left me in the hallway too long. So I started thinking, these people can't help me. Wow. And then on top of that, I was filled with so much shame because I just couldn't shake these feelings of depression no matter how hard I tried. Hey, I was kick them to the curb, Cassandra, and I just couldn't shake it off, you know? Yeah. So then one day, I decided I wanted to go online to look up how to increase my intuition, because why didn't I see this coming? I'm smarter than this, yada, 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 right? So I go online and I come across this concept called the 10 worlds. Okay. And it explained how people's moods or mindsets vacillate from these lower worlds into these upper worlds all day, every day, particularly people who have no kind of practice of self-mastery. Okay. And it made more sense to me than anything I had ever heard in my life, in any psychology class, book I had read, so on. So I was like, ooh, you know, it was kind of like, I don't know, first time you taste ice cream or something. I got to give me some more of that, you know what I mean? So
it was helping you.
Exactly. Wow. So finally, I mean, I had called the suicide hotline. They put me on hold. Oh, God. You know, and I had talked to all these people. Nobody could give me the answers. Right. So finally, there was something. I realized wisdom was the healing balm that I needed. Wow. So I had to learn more. So I go online and I start Googling and more. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, where's the community of these people? You know, so I can go hang with them. Right. So, and I don't remember all the details at this point because it's been about 12, 13 years now. But I found an organization called the Soka Gakkai International, which is a Nichiren Buddhism organization, a lay organization. We chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, just like Tina Turner in the movie What's Love Got to Do with It. Who would have thought all those years ago when I was listening to her, I didn't even try to repeat what she said. It's like, what is she talking about? You know? Well, it worked for her. Good, you know, whatever. So I go to a meeting and I'm sitting up there trying to keep pace with what they're saying, you know, and I swear I can't explain to you, but somehow instinctively I knew that this would help me. Wow. So, and in the meanwhile, I'm studying, I'm chanting, I'm learning cause and effect. I'm learning more about human nature because that became my determination, actually, to better understand human nature. Wow. And in the process, of course, I'm human, so I better came to understand myself. And not only just sitting around and rehashing history and, oh, woe is me, but understanding what it really means to develop my humanity. You know, and to not personalize other people's actions and to take that as some sort of indication of my self-worth. So, and just as an aside about the young man, this solidified my belief in karma. So he left me for this young woman almost a year to the day that he came to me and told me over the phone that he didn't want to be bothered with me. He had gotten engaged to her. She broke off the engagement. She told him almost word for word. It was like I wrote down, I was like, okay, girl, now you say this to him because that's what he said to me, right? And sent it to her. He said it to what he had said to me. She said to him almost word for word. And he called me from the plane because he had flown to his home country to, I guess, try and see what was going on with her. She wouldn't even see him until he was leaving.
Wow.
And, you know, he called me from the plane to say now he realized what he had put me through.
Right, wow.
But he realized all along, but it was okay as long as he felt it was working for him, you know? So
people are not thinking about the hurt for you. They're just thinking about their own gain and their own happiness, which is unfortunate.
Well,
you know?
And my thing was, I thought we had started out as friends. So, okay, you're dissatisfied. You feel there's something out there better for you. Okay, you're entitled to be happy.
Right.
But gosh, could you like give me some sort of clue beforehand that, you know, there's some sort of dissatisfaction as opposed to telling me that we're the toast of the town?
Right,
you know?
Yes. Yeah, no, you know what, and that's the thing. People have to learn. They have to learn that they have to respect others. But sometimes, you know, like I always say, if you don't respect yourself, you're not going to respect other people.
And that's what I came to learn.
That's the thing.
That he was still in process. So why should I base my happiness on him?
Right.
That's, you know, shaky ground.
Right, it is. I agree 100%. So, but I'm glad that you found, you know, this new organization, and you said you've been with them now how many years?
Oh, going on 13. I think it's 2003.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I started. 12, 13.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
subtract.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now I was hanging with people who were talking about changing poison into medicine, and that's what my journey has become about. Taking circumstances that are extremely troubling to you that you don't at that time feel that you're equipped to handle, and learning the philosophy or the principles of transformation and making that a source of joy in your life. And that's how my book came about. Because basically it's about the virtues. When we see someone who's happy, happy is what's on the surface.
That's very true.
But what is it, you know, what skills or what's underneath the surface of that happy?
Right, because you know some people hide it.
Some
people act funny or silly. Like one of the kids that was in my class, he was always silly, always like the clown of the class. And sometimes, you know, you think that could be a mask.
That's true.
Sometimes people, you know, they do that because they're masking their hurt.
That's true.
You know, so we don't know. And I always tell, you know, especially when I do the workshops for the kids, I tell them you have to, you know, think about it. You don't know what is going on in someone's life. So you have to always be good to people. You know, you only see, like you said, the surface. You see somebody smiling, but you don't know what's going on. You know, that's why a lot of these kids, they're killing themselves or they're killing other kids or killing other people because they're not happy. But sometimes people mask it so well, you don't even know. You don't have a clue. So it's really, you know, important to say, how can we find how to really know what's going on in people's minds?
That's true.
Yeah.
Because people are always saying to me how strong I was, how strong. But they had no idea about the feelings of alienation, you know, that I was going through. I could go on a job, and I do have a tendency to always try and put my best foot forward. And then for someone to come to me and give me a bad performance review or something, that was devastating to me because I don't really know how to half step. My grandmother was always like, if you're going to do something, do it well.
Yes, of course.
You know, that's part of our legacy as people of color. You know, we were always taught.
Do it the best you can do. No half stepping.
Exactly. We don't have that luxury.
Exactly.
You know? So that was very much inbred in me. So, you know, so now I can take it with a grain of salt, but back then that was, oh my goodness, you know?
Yeah.
You can't feel, you know, that I'm giving my all here, so it must not be good enough. You know, that whole script I would go through. So the book is about the virtues or the qualities that you can develop to help you lead a happier life, to help you not be a victim of circumstances, because circumstances change.
Yeah, they do.
They're, you know, they're very volatile. Excuse me. But you can master. You can gain a degree of self-mastery where you're, you know, more of a constant in this see all the time, you know? Exactly.
Yeah. The waves, you know,
Exactly.
you never know when that big wave is coming.
Right.
You know, people can just handle a little thing, but then when that big thing comes, you don't know how to handle it.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And another thing I learned too, I used to think that problems were some sort of indicator of I was being judged somehow. I didn't even understand, and it sounds silly to me saying it now, but I didn't understand that problems were inescapable. Everyone has them.
Yes.
So I don't need to look at the National Choir and, ooh, what's Angelina Jolie doing now to know that she has problems in her life. She has challenges because we all do. And we see so many people, oh my goodness, Robin Williams, Whitney Houston.
I know.
All this.
And he's a comedian, right?
Right.
So he makes us all laugh while in the meantime he's probably crying so much on the inside, and you know, who knew?
Exactly.
Who knew?
I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And you don't find out until, you know, until it's too late. So what you were saying about practicing compassion, practicing kindness, because you don't have to know everything that's going on with the person, but trust that they do have suffering in their life. And, you know, it's all of our responsibility to help encourage one another, because life is tough. You know?
So tell us a little bit more about what's in the book.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Let me just open up to something and read it. Okay, dreams. Dreams. Keep your dreams alive. Understand to achieve anything requires faith and belief in yourself, vision, hard work, determination, and dedication. Remember, all things are possible for those who believe. That's a quote from Gail Devers. Just take anything. This was the unsolicited advice others gave whenever I made the mistake of opening up about my career challenges. How was I going to have time for what mattered to me most? Ed questioned. I chose to pursue my dreams, and it paid off. So that kind of reminded me of something that Eddie Murphy said, and I think it was on the Actors Studio some years ago. He said, people kept telling me, have a plan B, have a plan B. He was like, but how was I going to actualize plan A if I'm worried about plan B, you know?
He has a good point, though.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Right, and he's a comedian that's still with us, and hopefully, you know, doing okay emotionally. So.
It's true.
And he had a good point. Focus, you know?
Focus. Yeah, that's true. Because people always say, I mean, parents even say, you need to have a plan B. Because especially if it's something that's not the norm, if it's not the normal path of going to college and you know, whether you're being a doctor or a nurse or something like that, you know, people always say, you need to have a plan B. As an entrepreneur, what are they telling you?
Oh, yes.
Get a real job or have a plan B, or you know what?
Right.
I mean, but it's true. When you do take away the time to do that, you're not focusing on what you really want.
And there were so many hours in the day, you know? So, you know, sometimes you do have to do other things, but you should create some sort of, I love vision boards, you know, or some sort of something visual to keep what you really want to do foremost in your mind, and to make sure that every day, you know, you're building up a little causes, to actualize that dream until it can become your entire focus, you know? Yeah, otherwise you'll still be doing A and B with all your energy scattered and getting nowhere. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. So you wrote the book after you got into that organization. Now, how are you feeling about yourself now?
I hardly recognize myself at times now. I have to tell you, I was like the expression toe up from the flow up, you know? I really was. But, I mean, your parents mean well, but I didn't have the skill set. And that's the great thing about it. As long as you have a brain, you can learn. People are like, oh, this can't be done, oh, that can't be done. But we learn new things every single day, you know? So why can't you learn to be happy?
I agree.
You can most certainly start on the path. Now, it says how to go from Boohoo to Woohoo in 90 days. And I'm not saying you'll be at, you know, the pinnacle at 90 days. But 90 days, I chose that because that's actually as long as it takes to begin learning a new habit. Just 3 months. Why sit and be stuck when in 3 months you can be changing the entire trajectory of your life?
The mindset. That's
exactly.
where it starts.
3 months.
Yeah. Wow. Wonderful. So now all those feelings of,
inadequacy and personalizing. Well, I refashioned myself. What's the word? Transformed. All those negative images or negative words that, my mother would use or whatever. I had the occasion to stay with her maybe, I think it's been about 3 years ago now. And there was a time when I had to distance myself from her because I didn't feel I had the strength to be in close proximity of her. But the practice is like you owe your parents the debt of gratitude for life, and you don't get off the hook because you feel they didn't make the cut. So when I first heard that, I was like, you don't know my mama, But I am so glad that I took on the challenge because, once again, looking at me now and where I was, it was like, why should I live my life controlled by someone else? I should be able to be me in whatever setting circumstances I find myself in, whoever company I'm in. That's victory. Being some victim who doesn't have the strength to talk to somebody or interact with people because they're unhappy. I'm sorry you're unhappy, and you can read my book. But I'm going to be happy, So, so there's no need to live like that. No matter what you're going through. I was saying this to a friend the other day. There's someone who's been through it and overcome it.
Or worse situation.
And they've overcome it.
Everybody thinks that their situation is worse until they hear somebody else's story. They're like, why was I complaining? My life is good. You know what I mean?
Well, I know why I was complaining because I didn't know. And I think ignorance is killing more people than most of the diseases out here combined. Because when you don't know, you're totally vulnerable to anything that comes your way. Whereas you have a strong sense of self, you can weather the storm,
So did that organization also teach you some of the signs to look for in other people?
Oh, when they're depressed?
Depression and the suicidal thoughts.
Well, it's not really about trying to diagnose people because, as I said, you don't have to, I guess you would say, know all the circumstances to know that someone is suffering. So you share the practice out of compassion for people and offer them a tool with the prayer that if things ever become so bad for them, they'll remember and start to chant or reach out to you or, just make the determination, even if they don't even know how it's going to come about yet, that I'm going to get through this. Enough is enough. I saw a video with Lisa Nichols the other day when she was saying she was so broke, and she looked at her son and she was like, I'm going to transform this situation. She didn't know how, but she knew she was going to.
That positive
Right.
thought.
So just letting people know that there is hope. And it kills me with young people because you are so young and you don't realize that, oh gosh, just maybe one more day could make all the difference, So I really like to reach out to young people like you're doing in hopes that, you'll impart the courage to them. You'll be the example.
The strength.
For them to know that, wow, if so-and-so did it, I can do it too.
Exactly. So we have to wrap it up. Time has flown, but thank you so much. It was a pleasure coming on to the show and speaking with you again. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And until next time, bye-bye.